Yes.
Yeah. Right, Jordan. Right.
So welcome everybody to, this will be the first episode of Mates Movies Malts. I am your host Jordan, and joined with me are my two best friends in the whole wide world, Stefan and Peter.
Hello.
You guys
Hello,
want to
everyone.
introduce yourselves and give the people a wee bit of blurb?
Yeah, I'm Peter, and I'm Jordan's best pal. But I think we're going to get into the serious stuff in a few minutes. But
Yeah.
you wouldn't probably be able to tell, but we've done a few of these by this point. We're now at the point where we're re-recording and trying to work out setups and stuff like that. But one thing I'm certainly not getting yet, which I thought I might by this point, is board. I really like it.
It's fun, man. It's like the highlight of my week.
So normally we record on a Friday, but due to scheduling issues we didn't record on Friday. We went a full week without recording anything, and I definitely
missed it. Steve, over to you. It's your turn.
Thanks very much, mate. I feel incredibly put on the spot. we've practiced this so many times. For some reason, I've got absolutely nothing to say.
Stage fright.
Lost. I've got stage fright. That's what it is.
I'm glad we put you.
Monday. I'm lost.
I'm glad we put you in the middle of the night then.
I feel terrible.
Surrounded.
Surrounded.
So the plan for this week is for you guys to get to know us a little bit. So we're going to do a bit of a round robin interview, and we've all came with 3 questions each. And we're just going to go around the table and answer the questions and see what kind of stuff we come up with. Hopefully we'll have a laugh along the way.
Yes.
I'm more than happy to let one of you guys go first.
I've got a reasonably decent one probably to start with. In my Mates Movies and Malts branded notepad that we all have. You're welcome, man. You're welcome, guys. So I suppose the first good one, and I know we've done this a few times. Can't even see it. Can't even see it in the camera. But no, so we've obviously done this a few times, and we've answered a similar question. So I've tried at least to put a slightly different spin on it. But it's first and foremost a question for you, Jordan, and then Stephen and I will interject. It is Stefan, by the way. We will occasionally call him Stephen, and whatever else, and that's just force of habit more than anything else. Firstly, why movies?
Movies is kind of one of the things that we all love, we're very passionate about. I think any of us had many pals growing up, so the telly was our pal. No, films is just something that we're passionate about. We love going to the pictures, we love watching films, we love talking films. It's just something that we really care about. And some folk think it's a pile of shite and quite boring, but we really enjoy it.
We do.
So that is why movies.
We do. And Steve, why are movies such a big part of your life?
Well, very similar to the two of yous. Movies kind of took on the father role in my life because I didn't really have one about.
Yeah.
So yeah, just started looking for father figures in the movies, and just love films. Fantastic way to spend time. We escape. That's all I know.
That's just an impromptu question, right? If you could pick one movie character, it'd be your dad.
I was just going to say,
who would it be?
Your best movie dad growing up?
That's a difficult one to answer on the spot.
That's a really difficult one because my head's just immediately going to like the really cool characters, but the problem is if Indiana Jones is your dad, he's never about.
Which would be pretty thematic for me.
I would John Lithgow for Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, it's a great show.
Cool dad.
You went wholesome.
Took his way shooting and stuff like that, and they found a Sasquatch.
I don't know if it was my childhood trauma or it, but I immediately went to Darth Vader. And then I wouldn't find out until I was 23.
Oh Jesus.
Try and get you to take over the family business.
I cut off my hand if I said no. I think movie dads. Who's a good movie dad?
That's a good movie dad. I'm really shocked because the majority of the movies that I watched growing up was usually the dad was like the bumbling idiot that accidentally shot the kids or whatever.
What about a father figure then? What about one of the Three Musketeers?
One of the Three Musketeers could work. I like that you've shoehorned that in.
Yeah.
I actually have I feel like in my questions I've got 3 ways of getting it, but then it's come up.
Which is your favourite Musketeer? When did you first watch the Musketeers? And how many Musketeers are there? Phil from Modern Family.
Oh, that's
Phil Dunphy.
I think that might be the best one.
He's so good, man.
I went with John Lithgow because he was the film Harry and the Hendersons, not the TV show.
Oh, of course it was. I forgot if I even forgot there was a film.
Yeah, there's a film before the TV show.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah. But Phil Dunphy's one of my heroes, man.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
He's Phil Offices.
See when he turns into Clive. He's so funny, man.
Bigsby. Hello, Juliana.
It's so good, man. I think there was one I was reading about him a while back as well, that he was nowhere near first choice for it, and they really had to. In fact, it was almost Matt LeBlanc and Lisa Kudrow for Modern Family. That's what they were going to do, was get Joey and Phoebe back together and have a family.
Show. I'll just take Ron Swanson, because I feel like if he'd been my dad, I would be much more capable of looking after myself. And
You wouldn't need to.
I'm useless.
And you'd like whiskey.
And I'd like whiskey. Good.
Yeah. Cool. And then, so the follow-on point to my question, I know we took a fatherly detour, but why podcasts?
There's just not enough podcasts out there, to be honest.
Agreed.
Everybody and their dog has got a podcast nowadays. So, we all listen to a lot of podcasts, and, just want to I think we get some good things to say. We're always going to try and be positive. We're not really going to shit on a lot of things unless you're Captain America.
Yeah. That's a future episode, folks. That's the hottest of takes.
But we love listening to podcasts. It's a really good excuse for us to get together more once a week, rather than just talking through WhatsApp and sending memes and stuff. We've been through a really long time of not seeing each other, but we've got that type of relationship. When we did see each other, it's as if we only seen each other yesterday and stuff. So it's just good. It's quicker than therapy. It's literally 6 weeks and look at this.
No, so far not particularly cheaper.
Over time it will be.
It's also starting to feel like you almost need to have a podcast now, because everyone's got one.
Yeah. My gran's got one.
Aye. It's going to get to even rockier, the podcast.
Bags and Bags it's called.
I think for me, the podcast thing, like, it's one of the many formats of new media that I think is quite positive a lot of the time. There's podcasts out there for everything. Do you know what I mean? If you want to find out podcasts about left-handed kangaroos, they're going to be out there. But I think the fact is that that's the point. But I think there's so many things out there that just it's so easy to listen to. I drive a lot for work, so I get to listen to a lot in the car and stuff like that. And it's just, I think it's a really, really good form of entertainment. And then obviously start to feel like you know people on them and stuff like that. So you can look forward to that, folks.
Do any of you want to shout out any podcasts that you're currently listening to?
I don't really listen to podcasts.
I'll mention I've recently discovered the New Girl Cast. I've got a podcast.
Oh, nice.
And it's fantastic. So I love Jake Johnson and Le Mans.
The Le Morning Show, the Le Morning After.
Yeah.
Great podcast.
Yeah.
Tremendous podcast.
So good. Absolutely.
Love that.
Love all of them. Listen to Winston and CC just
chill and stand.
AKA.
It's a show I never watched, New Girl, I need to at some point.
So good.
You've both been big fans for a long time.
Yeah.
Would it rank like top 5 kind of comedy TV shows for you?
Maybe.
Close.
For really,
it's a more regular rotation.
Mm-hmm.
To narrow it down to a top 5 would be a different podcast. That's a completely different episode.
So and then the final part of this question, which probably maybe has a little bit more, we've maybe even answered it already, but it was why movies, why podcasts, and why us?
We are best friends.
Mm-hmm.
We have been best friends for best part of 18 years
Yeah.
now. We met when I was just a bairn.
You were.
Fresh faced.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot more hair.
I'm starting to go, by the way. I don't see. Honest to goodness,
Unless
man.
you're tall as fuck, but nobody can tell.
Well, I can.
Unless you're sitting down.
Do you know when it is? See, when it's wet and it's in the mirror and it's particularly mental tonight. But when it's wet, I see a catch it in the mirror and I can see so much scalp. And that terrifies me a bit because I'd done it in COVID accidentally. Do you remember? We'll share the picture at some point in the socials.
I'm trying to remember if you had the beard.
I did. Aye, but then I shaved that just for shits and giggles.
Chocolate Malteser.
Oh my god, I looked
podcast, by the way,
bad. I thought chocolate Maltesers. But I looked absolutely horrendous. So I'm thinking transplant. I'm seeing stuff again. I was listening to a podcast. And they're talking about the what's it called? There's a thing that Matthew McConaughey apparently used and everything. I'm paranoid as anything about it. Your hair's nice and thick. Yours is going nowhere.
It's chin and butt.
No, I think it's all the men in our family. We keep our hair, but we just go grey at 18. It's the trade-off.
Stefan is only 17, by the way.
Aye, we met him at -1. Just knew his mum. know how that whole dad thing, Stefan, if somebody tell you.
He's here tonight.
But I would just echo what you said, man. Like, that is genuinely true. Like, this isn't something that we've gotten together and it's a kind of fake friendship or whatever else. We became pals extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And extremely firmly, and I think certainly a large part of that for me, we definitely did bond over sitting and talking shite about movies and video games and TV shows. I was going to say books there, but that's a lie.
Fueled by alcohol at like 3 o'clock in the morning, having really deep dive conversations about
alcohol.
Everything.
But yeah, no, I love you guys, Jordan. As soon as you said, "Do you want to do this?" We've touched on it before.
Yeah.
Like,
I
we were all in.
sent a message out in the afternoon, and about 4 minutes later, I had 2 yeses. Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, we literally have nothing to lose. Like,
Exactly.
and if it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. It's still just an excuse for us to get together and
That's it.
get this out. And
Something to leave for the grandkids.
Aye, son, like, you can go back and watch him. Look at the nicky of my dad. I'll kick off with the next one then, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
So, if you could go for a drink with any character from a TV show, so you're not going for a drink with the actor, you're going for a drink with the character, who are you picking and why?
You said it for the dad. Ron Swanson would be very, very high up for me. I love him. I would enjoy the drink because it would be Lagavulin 16 and it's one of my absolute all-time favourite whiskies. I just think he's the kind of man that the world needs more of. Like, he's like the kind of man that you want to be. Like, and I think it would probably be him.
There's a slight flaw in that choice though, in that he probably wouldn't want to be much.
No chance.
You'd have to sit in silence.
But that'd be alright. Have you ever seen the thing that he done, Nick Offerman? So he's got this, and we'll talk about whiskies a little bit later on. What malts are in the title?
Yeah.
It's not the main theme of the whiskey of the podcast, but we will chat about it.
Yeah.
But Nick Offerman's got a relationship with Lagavulin, right? Because it's his favourite whiskey, and he mentioned it so much in Parks and Rec. I know you've not watched all Parks and Rec yet, but he spoke about it so often that they've very, very cleverly and sensibly struck up a bit of a kind of commercial relationship. So there's now Offerman edition whiskies, which the pod mother first mentioned. Actually gave me one of last year, and it was one of the best whiskies I've ever had. But he recorded a thing on YouTube where it was just him sitting in silence for 9 hours drinking whiskey. So he's just got a bottle of whiskey in front of a roaring fire, and I would never be ashamed to admit that I've had it on every Christmas since he released it. And I'll sit, like me and Kirsten will sit to 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and if I want another wee couple, I'll stick Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman on the telly and just sit in a glass of whiskey with him, and I love it. It's so good, man. Honestly.
I'm struggling to come up with one that would be like a great choice for somebody to go for a drink with, but just because I love the character so much, maybe just Jake Peralta. I just think that would be like a really fun night out, because you've seen
stories.
Yeah, that's like his stories and stuff like that. You've seen like wee snippets from the show that when he gets on it, he's usually
very funny.
Really crazy night. He's very funny and mental and up for anything.
Mine was someone who
we've
we've already mentioned, and it's Nick Miller from
Nice.
Great choice as well.
I feel as if Nick Miller and Jake Johnson are one and the same person.
I was going to say, like, is it Nick Miller or is it Jake Johnson? Because again, I've not seen it.
I feel as if you're going for a drink with both of them. So you listen to Jake Johnson. He's got a podcast as well called Can We Help?
Yeah.
And literally, they're just one and the same person. You'll know. But I see a lot of myself in Nick Miller as well. Well, younger me anyway.
Aye.
Back when I had very little responsibilities and just didn't really give a fuck. So Jake Johnson would be my. No, sorry, Nick Miller. Is who I would go for a pint with. I think he'd get some laugh.
When your favourite and least favourite movie trope, so just something that just seems to pop up in certain genres and things like that. For example, people inevitably like splitting up and going off on their own in horror movies and things like that.
Yeah.
That could be one of these.
That's right up there.
What, favourite or least favourite?
Least favourite. It drives me nuts. Yeah. When do you know what, this is really specific, right? But it's just popped into my head. So another part of our friendship, we all used to play in the same pool team, not particularly successfully to any sort of level or anything like that. That's what we used to do on a Monday night, was play pool and get steaming.
The times was changed.
Exactly. And do you know what drives me nuts? And I noticed it in the first episode of the new season of Tulsa King the other day, right? And I notice it every single time, is when they're playing pool in a bar and they play like such an like they obviously have never played pool ever before, and they line up the easiest shot and stuff like that, and they scuff it, or they they cut, and then all of a sudden it's like the noise that get in the corner as if he's hit the bench. It drives me nuts. So I would say that's probably my most hated one, which is weird because I didn't know that until now. It's niche, isn't it? I hate how they manage pool tables in cinema.
I've probably got, it's my favourite and my most hated at the same time, is how nobody in a film ever pays for a fucking taxi. They literally just get out, shut the fuck off. I think it's both amazing and infuriating at the same time. Or nobody says goodbye, they literally just hang up the phone. Especially when it was early 2000 when there was a flip phone, they just slam it shut, put it back in your pocket and away. So that's quite a good question.
I had a few points. One of my least favourite ones is that when people order drinks in bars, a guy will say, give me a beer. Doesn't specify what kind. Pisses me off all the time.
Scotch on the rocks.
You can get a green bottle beer.
You don't want that.
No, definitely don't want that. But it's just, I just want one movie to just be the guy, give me a beer, and then the bartender to go, fucking what kind, man? Like,
but you know,
fridge,
that's made me then dawn on what potentially would be my favourite, and I don't know if you would call it a trope, but potentially when directors and filmmakers kind of create their own little universe. So with that specifically in mind, instead of having to worry about branding and everything, Quentin Tarantino was really famous for doing it, where he did Red Apple cigarettes, was it Green Apple? Red Apple cigarettes.
Red Apple is based on Reds.
I'm thinking about the malt of the week from last week's next week. So it's Red Apple cigarettes and
Big Kahuna Burger.
Like that's I love that when they pay such attention to detail that they
world building.
And that's exactly what it is, and I think there's quite a few that do it. We were talking about so it's maybe quite a nice little segue onto the whiskey bit. We were talking about it in another previous episode. About the whole, what we're trying to do is basically do a bit of a tenuous link with the whiskey, and it needs to be a lot more tenuous than I thought.
It's very loose.
Yes.
Very loose.
So keep your eyes out for the whiskey of the week on the Avengers episode, folks. But with the tenuous link in mind, right? I was sitting looking for different ones in the Avengers films and stuff like that, and again it was all made up ones, so it's like Daredevil drinks a beer, and I just love it. I just think that's a really cool little detail. So I'd never thought about that before. It was a great question.
And I'll just list to kind of cap off. Have you done a least and most favourite?
I do one.
Yeah, cool. My favourite trope in action movies is when the hero's going to fight a bunch of villains and they're all polite enough to take their turn to come in and get their ass kicked, and then the next one steps in, gets the cap kicked out.
It was a crazy 88 in Kill Bill. That's 88 people they just queue up.
Take a number.
It's so good, man.
That, or the other one where if you've got like a team up movie, you'll have that moment where they inevitably like split up to fight a bunch of people individually on their own, and then you get to see how they all fight differently and handle situations. Just to kind of showcase their individual talents. Kind of like Three Musketeers. Where the first time the three of them link up with D'Artagnan and they have to fight off a bunch of Cardinals guards, and they go off and they all have their own signature way of killing everybody. You know, you get Athos, who's just outperforms and overpowers his guy. Pathos gets a bit creative to kill his guy. Aramis.
This is the Three Musketeers section.
I have to include this. By the way, there's two more Three Musketeers sections later on in this podcast. I'll just move on. It's fine. It's fine.
on next week's episode, it's two Mates Movies and Malts.
We'll put the link to the Three Musketeers film in the book. You can go watch it for yourself.
Go and watch it, come back, and he'll still be going. You do love that film, though, don't you?
I do love that film.
French as fuck, man.
Another one that popped into my head there that I just thought was quite nice, actually, and you mentioned it in like horror movies and stuff, but it's just when they always make the worst possible decision. Like so they don't pick up the phone, they don't do whatever it is that they're supposed to, like just the obvious thing, just like, and it's not particularly skillfully written. I think it's a bit of a
It's atrocious. There's 6 people, there's one killer.
Right.
What we'll do is, instead of staying as a team of 6 to fight one person, we'll just all break up and they can just pick us off one by one. No, let's just the 6s stay together and lure them out, kick fuck out.
Have either of you seen the guy on TikTok he's the most rational person in whatever genre movie? I love that because he did that one of for horror movies and we were just like, listen, I know it's scary, but there's one of him and 15 of us.
Exactly what it is.
I know, it's so silly, man. It's so silly.
So So you
But,
mentioned a tenuous link to the whiskey. Do you want to tell us what we're on this week?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously we hinted at it earlier on as well that if Ron Swanson had been your dad, that you might like whiskey. So my compatriots here are not particular whiskey fans, and I am. I enjoy whiskey. I've got my wee collection up the stairs and stuff, and it does. I think I don't think there's a person out there that's an enthusiast that's ever had their first whiskey and just went, do you know what I mean? There's lots of things like that. People drink coffee. You don't like coffee when you're 9. You like chocolate milk, right? Like it's the same sort of thing. But you develop a taste, and the more you get used to it, the more things you sort of kind of pick out and stuff. And I really enjoy it, and I think I probably bore you guys to tears, which you can look forward to talking about it. So we thought, why not have a malt of the week every week? We'll sit and have a chat. We're not drinking tonight, it's a Monday, but we will put it into our infinity bottle.
We'll add it to us, we'll come back to it.
We will, and the infinity bottle in a very brief window is a thing that whisky enthusiasts do, where they make their own blend. And obviously you want to try and pick things that will kind of complement each other, so you don't necessarily want something that's very smoky with something that's very sweet or something like that. You might, but you tend to try and make it something that's going to work. And obviously what I want to do is try and take you guys from not particularly loving whiskey to maybe quite liking it, and then who knows, maybe become an enthusiast yourself.
And as you can see, there's a couple of measures in there already, which shows that we have already recorded a few episodes.
Yes. Continuity is key. It is key.
This week, big man.
This week's so the tenuous link is an absolute screamer. So when we recorded this, and I know it's not a big deep dark secret, we recorded a version of this episode previously, and because we weren't talking about specific movies, I didn't really have a link to make.
Yeah.
So what I did was I chose an 18-year whiskey based on the fact that we had been best pals 18 years.
Nice.
Right? And so I've done the same thing. Right, I've went for another 18-year-old whiskey. I don't have too many 18-year-olds, so that's a large part as to why this one has been selected.
No, it doesn't matter.
Careful.
Let's not talk about current events.
No. My mother works for a company that has several distilleries in Scotland, and they like the Balblair 18 that we already had in there. So far we've got a measure of Balblair 18, which is a fantastic whiskey. You really liked...
Green Spot.
You liked the second, so you liked that. And then you preferred the one the next week, which was the Green Spot, which was the Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
And this week, yes, it's made by a distillery that the same company owns as Balblair. It's a really sherry heavy whiskey. I absolutely love it. It's genuinely one of my absolute favourites.
So that's called Sherry Heavy.
Sherry heavy. Sorry? Right,
Shake
okay. Shake bag if you didn't. Right, and then Jordan, so again, this is the third time you're going to have explained this to the world, but we do. And what's the thing that we do with the whiskey?
So we play right hand down it. So basically, way back at the start, we set out the rules that once it's been poured, if you pick up with your right hand, you need to down it. Main reason, we're all right-handed. So if you make an arse right, you need to down it, and if you pick up with your non-dominant hand, you can sip the night away. Yeah.
Normally one would drink from a Glencairn. That's a mini one, which has been specifically designed to capture the stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's high-end, kind of real quality whiskey chat on the Mates Movies and Malts podcast this week, folks.
This was just a small part of the podcast.
Yeah,
yes. It's a very small measure, right? We'll do that so you can sample, and you can drink until your heart's content with the one hand. Pod Mother, would you like to join us for one?
Tiny one.
Yeah, that's you.
I heard something that says that if you smell it with your mouth slightly open, you kind of get a better smell. Is that true?
It's a thing that I've read, yeah.
True.
It's something sort of similarly to the
because your tongue has the taste buds and it can pick up the aromas. The notes.
I'm not
the aroma borealis.
Whether my mouth is open or it's not.
This one, it's obviously nowhere near as sweet smelling as the Green Spot that we had last week.
Yeah.
This smells a bit harsher than that. It doesn't smell as I don't know.
I feel like it
I'm
smells
starting to change already, but the other one smells a lot softer.
Yeah, that's the word I was going to use. I would say, like, Irish whiskey tends to be quite friendly, and a bit more kind of approachable and stuff. This is the wankiest thing you're probably going to hear me saying on this. But this is complex.
That is a sipping whiskey.
But that's a strong.
That is a sipping whiskey.
The thing that is, I think it's very kind of candied kind of sweetness. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of cherries and stuff like that I get from it. So yeah, but yeah, normally you would drink from a Glencairn. We drink from Star Wars shot glasses because that's how we roll. And we should do.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Slanger.
It's our first ever podcast.
And the last time we ever mentioned the Three Musketeers. Oh, I love that. Oh my god, I love
This
that.
tastes really cherry.
Oh man,
It's what
dead cat. It's almost
I feel like such a wank man, but it tastes like quite woody and smoky.
very woody.
Can I pour my Coke Zero in this?
You can do whatever you want.
Off.
Well, can you remember this? I've mentioned it a few times before. The whiskey tribe, which is a really cool one.
Is the whiskey that you like, the way you like to drink it?
Best whiskey is the whiskey you like to drink the way you like to drink it. But well done. That's absolutely a pass.
I couldn't even have told you the name of the podcast. Even if you mentioned it every
It's
single
Mates
time.
Movies Malts. Favourite cinema going experience with us three?
Oh.
It was Endgame, because I was kind of at the end when, spoilers, Iron Man dies. No, just because we went and seen so many of those movies together on the lead up, and that was like the culmination of all those movies. Just a really nice experience. Enjoyed it.
Love
My
it.
favourite one was when we went to see Endgame because it was the end.
Love that.
It was.
It was a proper moment that, like, well, I'm sure at some point we'll talk about event cinema and stuff like that. Endgame, for me, I've got it tattooed on me and stuff like that. Like, it's amazing. You know how much I love it, and it's salvaged the ending of Infinity War, which is spoilers for another episode. But it's one of my favourite films of all time. My favourite cinema going experience though with you guys was when we did all the Star Wars, and we did the full sitting
Before
in the
the
cinema.
back to back.
Yes,
Couple of McDonald's breaks in between.
we did
That
back
was
and forth.
quality.
That was a good night.
That was a great
Films were shite, but it was a good night.
Stick it on, man. They weren't Endgame. But no, listen, I loved that. As daft as it sounds, doing the whole kind of movie marathon. I saw a thing online recently that I want us to do, and I want us to record while we do it. Is
Take a bath.
well, of course, but
That's the only fans.
the Lord of the Rings one.
Yeah.
It was the Lord of the Rings one where the guys and they get their sleeping bags all set up in the living room, and I want us to do that so badly.
Absolutely.
So I think we need to do that. Sit and get
Organise
pished. Right, okay. With
Get it organised.
that in mind, I'd like to ask you a very, very slightly related question, Jordan. Have you recently completed any movie-related exercise challenges of any kind?
It's funny you should mention that, Peter, because I have just completed the Conqueror Lord of the Rings challenge. So it was a 5-piece, it was 5 distance challenges. You were walking from the Shire to the top of Mount Doom to throw the ring in.
Amazing.
And I got 5 really, really beautiful medals. There's 6 medals sitting there.
They're
because
so
I've
cool, man.
started the Star Wars one. So you start off with the Shire, you get a wee envelope. It says keep it secret, keep it safe, and then you open it up and inside is the ring.
I love that, man.
Cool. And then you go to Rivendell, you go through the Mines of Moria, you get to the Black Gate, and then you start heading up to Mount Doom. And then at the end of Mount Doom,
You end up in a galaxy far, far away.
you get this really, really cool medal, which opens up like that, and then you put the ring back in it, and then you put it in.
You've so
Put it in the fire.
this I think is such a good example, right? If anybody ever did end up watching this, right? A, how delighted you are having that,
Buzzing.
and B, how much I love it. Like, you've got no idea the sort of mental itch that scratches in me that you've got that and that's there tonight. I love that, man.
So
I'm going to do the Star Wars one with you.
It was about 690 miles all in. It took me 3.5, almost 4 months, 3.5 months to do. And I've started, there's a 6 Star Wars pack as well, so it was through the original trilogy and then the middle trilogy.
Love that.
So
I'm going to start it with you and then I'll catch up. We'll try and catch up and
Aye.
wait for me if you can.
I will. So
wait for me at Alderaan.
I'm doing the NC 500 one now, so it's obviously the
North Coast.
500 miles. I'm about 80 miles in to that already. So by the end of the
Nice.
year, I'll have done about 1,200 miles. So
It's, if you don't mind me saying, you have shifted a good bit of weight this year and you're looking really good for it. Do you know
Thank
what I
you,
mean?
appreciate that.
Love it.
I was described as a sexy Stone Cold Steve Austin a few weeks ago.
Oh, I totally agree.
And
Listen, I'm terrible. I balloon and I'd go up and down and yo-yo diet and stuff like that, lose 5 stone and then put it all back on. But the getting moving part,
Yeah.
I think, is so important.
it's
And
good because you get a wee companion app, you get a map, it shows you how far you're going. You can
Keeps you
distances and
focused.
Stuff. You can either walk, run, cycle, swim, whatever you can get distance on, it will do the distance for you. What you can also do is when you finish that pack, you can then get the Return of the King pack as well, which is like the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's got three medals in it, which is really cool. But
and I know that you've mentioned on like previous episodes, the continuity it's absolutely different this episode, isn't it? But you mentioned when originally the 4 times that I've asked you on the podcast about why you started the pod, right? And we didn't do that tonight, but you told us that it was because you've had a shite year, for want of a better phrase. Would you say, because I know that like the podcasts are part of maybe kind of help and stuff like that, has that had a good impact on that?
100%, because I just got out and I walked, so a lot of it was walking to and from work, a lot of it's doing really kind of big walks. Like Saturday I done a 13k walk, which was for Shawhead down to Strathy and round Strathy and stuff as well. Used to take the dog on big walks, but part of that was him no longer being here as well, so that kind of hurt the first few times I done it, but
of course
you get used to it and stuff as well. But that definitely just plug my headphones in, listen to some different stuff and just get away for a wee bit.
Love that, man.
It's
love
really
that.
Good.
I'm buying the Star Wars one once you guys got the road later on.
So if anyone's interested, Conqueror, they're absolutely amazing. They've got loads of challenges. So they've just unveiled a Harry Potter one, they've just done a Star Trek one, they've just brought out a Tomb Raider one as well, so the remastered Tomb Raider.
Ah, nice.
There's tons of them. There's also
so
standalones,
cool,
there's ones that's like the lengthy Great Wall of China, there's hundreds of
I wonder
them.
if they, do you know what would be a really good idea with the Harry Potter one would be if they done like the Marauders map on the app, and it's kind of like you see your footprints and your name going around it and stuff like that. Conqueror, you can have that. Love it.
Okay.
Love it.
Thank you.
Stefan, next question.
Oh shit, yeah, absolutely. So next one, favourite movie soundtrack or just individual song that was made for a film. So my favourite soundtrack is probably Drive with Ryan Gosling. That's just fantastic. Every song that's on that is brilliant. The stuff that they made specifically for it is amazing. Tick of the Clock, which is a bit that plays out during a very strange kind of getaway scene where rather than it being just like him driving dead fast, it's actually him driving just very carefully and just picking his moments and things like that. So that whole sequence is fantastic, and that music in the background really adds to it. But there's loads of stuff in that movie, loads of songs in that movie, that just fit it so well, and it's just absolutely amazing.
I think the music part of films is so important. It makes or breaks a film for me a lot of the time. So I think it's a really hard question to answer. My immediate thought goes to Pulp Fiction. Like, and I know Tarantino probably got quite a few mentions, but Pulp Fiction, man, start to finish, the soundtrack's just amazing.
I'm probably going to go in a different direction. I'm probably going to say Guardians 2.
Guardians, man. Guardians 1.
So in my head I've been thinking between 1, 2 and 3, and I'm landing on 2. 2 is, for me, mixtape 2 is my favourite one out of the 3 of them. So I am going to go with Guardians 2.
Love that.
It's a fucking great
and you've come up with really, you're like, oh, my questions aren't good. They're the best ones were Miles.
I was worried about them.
I'm like, why did you do loads of walking, Jordan?
Why are you not flying anymore?
I was worried that they weren't going to be personal enough. But
no, I love it. You also said that it's
just a song that was made for a movie. For example, Three Musketeers. Bryan Adams. All for one. One
Everything
for
I do.
all for
I
love.
don't know if it was written for the song, but it was the one that was used in all the advertisements and stuff like that as well, and it was Kiss from a Rose by Seal for Batman Forever.
Oh, great shout.
That's one of my favourite songs
I
of all
think
time.
that was, because I'm sure it either won the Oscar or at least get nominated for Best Original
It's
Song.
definitely up there, so that'd probably be,
That's a good one, man.
for me, that.
My actual serious one was going to be You've Got a Friend in Me, Toy Story.
Well, I was thinking Disney.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm straight into thinking Lion King, man. Because Lion King could win score for me. Soundtrack, sorry, because soundtrack and score's obviously very different. Score would be a good one.
Score would be a good one as well.
I would probably go Circle of Life because it's astonishing, and out with the film, for having gone and seen the musical, we went and saw it on Broadway when we were on honeymoon, and we went and saw again in Manchester last year, and the opening, obviously the open was Circle of Life, and I swear to God, I've hardly ever seen anything better in any form of entertainment than just sitting in that theatre and that being blasted in your face. It's astonishing.
And then they started the show.
Exactly. It's just Circle of Life. So yes, can you feel love tonight? So Circle of Life for me, aye. But yeah, no, that was a good question again, man. Jordan, your next one?
So my next one would be, if you could live in any movie, what movie would you live in? I'll go with mine if he's one to use a thinking time. So for me, one of my favourite films wasn't the best book to movie adaptation, but the world I would love to live in would be Ready Player One.
Whoa, that's a great shout.
Yes, I would live in the slums, I'd live in a stack, but I would spend all my time in the Oasis hunting for Easter eggs. That is just the type of stuff that we are all about, like the amount of pop culture.
It's a very meta answer as well, I love that. I love that.
That's where I would go. I would live in Ready Player One.
But I also find it really difficult not to say Star Wars, because I could get my hands on a lightsaber, I'd chop them off almost
instantly.
Like,
put them
like, yeah.
through you.
Like that. I don't want to be doing that action, edit that one out, man.
Cut that!
It's like all of a sudden thinking of something to say to force us to have to clip it. But I would probably say something like that, Star Wars, to be able to use the Force, and that would be the condition. Being a Force user and a lightsaber wielder.
Pleasantville?
Just everything's always works out for you. Everyone's really nice.
Everything's black and white.
Everyone's black and white. But
Like the Truman Show?
No, Truman Show.
If I'm in the Truman Show, can I be Truman, or am I one of the actors that has to try and maintain the lie?
You're his wife.
Mate. It's your life, you do what you want.
Truman Show, just
Truman Show.
centre of the whole universe.
Fair
Yeah, I'll
enough.
take it.
I love that. Aye.
Cool.
My last question, I think we're on to.
Yeah, well, wait.
Okay. Delete one forever.
Oh shit.
Right. Star Wars universe, Marvel universe, or the DC universe. Now, caveat on DC, it's not just like the MCU, so it's not just the DCEU.
So
You would be losing the Dark Knight, you would be losing the original Superman.
Everything.
What?
I'm going to cut Star Wars.
I thought you'd do that quite easily. But that means you're keeping Captain America.
I'm fine with that.
Cool. You?
Yeah, Star Wars, just to get rid of the fans.
Do you know the biggest thing I'll miss for cutting Star Wars? Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
That's the biggest thing I'll miss.
Aye.
And I could live with just losing Mandalorian. There's too much other stuff on the other side that
I think I would, and it pains me, but I think I would have to go DC, and it comes down to the decision of Dark Knight versus Star Wars, because I can't lose all of the MCU, I just can't, and I can't justify losing Star Wars. It's my favourite.
No, it is. You're the biggest Star Wars guy out of the three is.
Yes, I'm just the biggest guy as well.
I was saying the biggest reason why I wouldn't want to cut DC is for Batman the Animated Series, because that is just my childhood. And then you obviously get the films that come off the back of it, like Mask of the Phantasm and stuff like that as well, which is Under the Red Hood. Mask of the Phantasm is still one of my favourite films to this day. It's tremendous. So
that's amazing.
Star Wars for me, catch.
Yeah, it's a shame we lose the original trilogy and the Mandalorian, but there's Marvel and DC have got too much else. For
me, the only real thing, I don't get wrong, I'm gutted at losing all the Batman animated stuff. I'm gutted at losing some, not very, very little of the DCEU. I think that's the defining thing for me is that there's so many dreadful films in the DC world. It was magic.
I nearly bet.
But DC.
You watch that back for like my face.
Ready to fight.
Punch that can off my face. Fair enough.
Okay. So my last one, kind of weird way I've phrased this. The movie genre that you're the most and least forgiving of. So the movie genre that the movie doesn't have to be particularly good for you to still enjoy it. So for me, the genre that I'm the most forgiving to is horror movies. I can watch a terrible horror movie quite happily and still enjoy it.
Yeah.
They don't have to be like fantastic. Not every horror movie has to be like. Mama's not a great example because most people won't agree with me. That's a great horror movie, but I really like that one.
What one?
Mama.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Jessica Chastain, really good.
Terrible ending, but
yeah,
but you can forgive it because it was an alright film.
It was an alright film. And then the one that I'm least forgiving of is any like mystery or crime mystery movies. If I can figure out who it is within the first 10 minutes, I'm not fucking watching that movie.
Yeah.
I just cannot be arsed.
But how do you then know that you're right?
Columbo. But he puts it half in the air.
Exactly.
I'll never be proven wrong. Just refuse to let anybody bring it up in conversation.
Mine, actually, funnily enough, yours that you're most forgiving of would be mine that I'm least is horror. Horror, I think, is the genre that the highest percentage of is atrocious. And I think that for me to enjoy a horror, it needs to be really, really good. It needs to be well thought out. It needs to not lean too heavily on a lot of the cliches and stuff like that.
It's the horror films I hate.
I know. See, I like the clever ones and like there's but The Shining's my all-time favourite. But I think the last few years there's been a few really, really great ones that have come out. Jordan Peele's doing amazing stuff and whatever else. But I just think all the schlock horror. Let's think of how many creative ways we can kill and dismember this person. It's just tired.
If you didn't like one of the Pooh horror film.
What was that called again?
100 Acre Massacre or something.
Didn't watch it.
Fucking shit.
And the one that I would be most forgiving of that I could sit and not only just sit through but genuinely enjoy bad versions of is like action kind of blockbusters, Sly, Arnie, stuff like that. Like I can genuinely sit and watch Commando and argue that it's a well-made, good film.
Enter the Shoot Fighter.
Like exactly, Enter the Shoot Fighter, well remembered. If anybody doesn't know about that, Google that film. Enter the Shoot Fighter. But I will sit if anybody that's like really, really cliche, a Steven Seagal movie, Jean-Claude, whatever, I can watch them back to front and never be bored.
Fair. My most forgiving will be horror as well. I love horror films. We kind of touched upon that before. I really don't care if it's a great film. It's entertaining. Least forgiving would probably be rom-coms. I really don't like rom-coms, man.
Is it you're just not very forgiving, so they have to be really good for you to sit through one?
It can't be blatantly obvious that everything's going to be... Do you know one of the biggest ones that I was actually surprised by was The Breakup, which was Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
Obviously all the way through they split up early doors and you really think they're going to get back together and stuff and it's all going to be a happy ending and they don't, they just get separated.
They subverted it quite.
That was brilliant.
It was a good film. I think the surprising thing about that was you'd cast Jennifer Aniston, who was a comedy actress, and Vince Vaughn, who at the time was probably the biggest comedy actor. Certainly one of the top kind of 2 or 3. And but it wasn't actually a pure out and out horror. Well, it definitely wasn't an out and out horror. I thought them getting back together with some of my exes or but no, it wasn't an out and out comedy. It was actually very dramatic and well acted and stuff like obviously some real kind of funny bits in it. So, but you
can pretty much tell what's happening with most rom-com films. And it needs to be.
Would you say that for you is the pinnacle of rom-com?
Plot twists, definitely.
Plot twist.
That was a plot twist and a half.
Aye. When the shoot fighter enters.
Blind Fury comes in. But that's...
See, I actually consider rom-coms for the one that I love a rom-com. I can sit and enjoy a rom-com, no bother at all.
Funny. Don't get me wrong, there's some really, really good ones and that lean more to the comedy than the romance, which I'm fine with. Some of them are alright.
But do you know a rom-com that I absolutely loved over the last wee while? There was Crazy Stupid Love. That's the best one. So good, man. Ryan Gosling's genius in it as well.
I'm a big fan of Emma Stone as well. I think Emma Stone's a brilliant actress and she was tremendous in it.
I think that's actually, when you think about romantic comedies and stuff, I think that's a really, really good space for people to show their kind of talents and stuff. A lot of people start off in those films and end up actually being really good. Do you know what I mean? Whereas some people obviously get captured in them, but
you just can't take
kids. That was a rom-com.
Exactly.
Or like Matthew McConaughey having to like properly trying to go against type and refuse big money to just stop being cast in only.
I remember I saw an interview with him because I think the last one he had done was, funnily enough, with Emma Stone, was the Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. And she was just a small part in it, but she's actually the highlight in it. She was really funny. But I'm sure he said something along the lines of, I watched it in the cinema and I thought I'm either retiring or doing different stuff, which I love. Do you know what I mean?
For him.
Exactly.
He tells a great story
the McConaissance
of him knocking back a romantic comedy. He was getting offered like 2 million, say it was. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I was like, do you want to see the script? And he was like, I don't want to read the script, just don't, I want to do something else. And then they came back and they were like, oh, it's 4 million now. And he was like, okay, let me read the script. And he was just like, no, I'm not doing it. And then he kept coming back to him and eventually it was like 10 million. And he was thinking he was probably just going to do it. And then he was just like, no, I promised myself I was going to try and try something else.
So much would be 10 million, man.
I know. I wonder what script it was that he turned down, because it was still being made.
Yeah, like,
Well, I wonder what one that was. It'd be interesting to try and find out. But anyway, so it's not a rom-com podcast.
No, it's
no,
not.
it's not.
Thankfully.
Last question.
My last question is taking us away from movies. It's taking us back to our childhoods when we used to play video games.
Nice.
What video game from your childhood would you love to see remastered today? Exact same
Easy.
game, just remastered. Tremendous graphics. I think I know what you're going to say.
Tell me what you think mine is.
I think yours is Knights of the Old Republic.
Correct.
Right.
It is. It's been in development hell for so long. It just doesn't seem as if it's going to happen. Then it gets cancelled. Then it's announced again. Mostly because it's extremely fertile ground for them building the universe from it. Do you know what I mean? The game.
So much has changed throughout the canon universe since the game came out as well. It's
Yeah.
trying to shoehorn so many different things in,
Exactly.
and so many different timelines and stuff.
And the thing that I think is a real shame, and we've spoken about this just in chatting previously and stuff, and we'll definitely at some point we're going to do a Star Wars episode, right?
Yeah.
Probably one of the weeks that I get to pick. But I was gutted at what happened with the Acolyte, because again, that's the genre I'm most forgiving of, is Star Wars. But the
Phantom Menace Defender.
exactly, that sounds like a well better film. Phantom Menace 2.
Defender.
But no, it's like the Acolyte obviously ended up getting cancelled because of it was negative reviews before it even came out. It drives me nuts, which is what you were saying about the fan base, because you're absolutely right. Knights of the Old Republic, I do genuinely see as potentially the thing that would salvage the Star Wars universe. Like, and I say salvage it, I still love a lot of what's coming out, but it's the thing that would really take it, and that was their first kind of flirtation with it, doing it 100 years before the movies. It's different characters, it's not linked to the Skywalker saga, and obviously just the fan base, man, just like refusing to see anything other than make a New Hope again.
Watching a guy get off his sister.
Exactly, which was my favourite bit.
My only concern, it would just be getting that game that they told us we were getting but then didn't do, rather than the actual. You wouldn't want to see like a movie.
But again, it's apparently happening now, and 100%. I guarantee you, if they do the remake will be the biggest selling game of whatever year it comes out, guaranteed, right? Against, and I genuinely think if it was up against a Grand Theft Auto 6, it would do those sorts of numbers, right? Like, off the back of something of that size, when it's a remake, there's no possibility they won't make a film or a TV series out of it.
My concern though would be there's such a poor track record of video games to movies.
Yeah, but it seems to be getting better.
Oh, there's definitely a lot better adaptations recently.
I suppose.
But yeah.
Dark Cloud.
Oh,
Played that. Absolutely loved that game growing up. Put a lot of hours into it. Such a really simple game. Nice, easy idea. Just good versus evil with a couple of wee twists along the way. Nice, easy combat system. It was like loads of not customization, but leveling up weapons in a very particular way to have the weapons evolve. If you just did that again, my fear would be they would try and do something really fancy with it and start with like armor and all that and try and make it like Elden Ring or something. But the game itself, Dark Cloud, was a lot of fun, and I would like them just to not even remake it, just release it so I can play it now. Put it update it so that I can play that exact game. I don't need better graphics or anything because it's very cartoonish. Just create a world where I can actually play that game just now.
You could probably play it on an emulator.
I was going to say I bet you anyone there's one on an emulator.
You can get it on an emulator, but it's a pain in the arse, and I don't want to sit with a laptop with a PS2 controller.
With Dark Cloud above you.
I just want it to be as easy as a switcher on my computer, and I'm allowed to play it now.
Okay.
Good shout.
Mine's a game called Armageddon, which was on the PlayStation 1, and it was Bruce Willis was the main character.
Oh, I remember this.
So this was set in a post-apocalyptic world where you had to fight the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and you started off in a prison.
I forgot this existed, man.
I did not play this game.
He creates a gun in like a cyber sink.
Aye.
And he breaks out, and then you need to get out of jail, then you end up in a sewer level, and then you need to keep progressing. So literally it was as easy as, this was before analog sticks by the way, so it was the old PS1
the
controller.
D-pad.
So D-pad, and triangle was to shoot forward, circle was to shoot right, so on and so forth, and if you had to shoot at an angle you told the two of them in at the same time and make them kind of
Enter the shoot fighter.
the shoot fighter. But that was one of my favourite games growing up, and
Great shit.
you can watch it on YouTube.
Is that as much?
It's kind of like a Fifth Element vibe.
Do you know I think the reason I forgot it existed is because, do you remember on PS1 they did the Die Hard trilogy as well? and Bruce Willis did that.
Yeah.
And that was brilliant. Like the Die Hard games were absolutely brilliant on PlayStation, but I forgot that game existed.
Amazing game. It's not
Oh,
a lot
so
of people
good,
remember it
man.
or ever played it.
I'm gonna have to look this
It's an
up now.
amazing game.
So good, man. I'm going to look it up as well.
You go shit house, like kill them all and God sort them out and stuff like that. There's tons of just wee one-liners that you kind of take away from it.
I had another one that was slightly less kind of movie related. I don't know if you guys ever remember a game called Second Sight.
Yes.
Do you?
I
It was an
remember Second
Xbox
Sight, yeah.
exclusive.
I never played
And I
it.
just think it went a little bit under the radar, but it was amazing. And
I think it's got a huge cult following now.
has it?
Yeah.
I think that now would be unbelievable.
Who was it that made it?
BioWare?
Was it BioWare?
Don't know. Maybe.
May have been, but
We've had the research team to check that.
Yes.
but,
Pod Miller.
but no, Second Sight.
It was so good. So basically, you wake up in an abandoned like nuclear test site or something,
Right, okay.
and you're this character, and you wake up with no memory, but you've now got psychic powers,
Right.
and he's just so OP. It's like the Force Unleashed, but not Star Wars.
Right, okay.
And he's just so OP. But the story was great. I think the guy's name was John Nettick. It just really stuck in my head. But it was so good. I'd love to see them remake that. So if it was not Star Wars related, then I would go that.
Fair enough.
Oh, did the Fear series continue?
Nah, it was just that one. I'm sure it was just the one. That was PlayStation 3. That was.
I feel like that's
good
still
game.
slated somewhere.
That was a really good game.
I feel like that's on a roadmap somewhere.
I just love that. Just like a first person shooter like horror. Just for that one moment. Obviously you couldn't like drop down levels. You always had to go down on the ladder, and then you save it for later on in the game. Spin round on the ladder, and the creepy lashy light just pops up.
Just waiting for
I
it.
remember plus playing this at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was just immediately turned it off. So no.
Never been through a run of playing all the Resident Evil games again.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 player them.
Oh, I need to do that,
That was a
man.
while ago.
I need to do that.
I've still got Resident Evil 3 and the wrapper because we never got around to actually playing it.
I've just done that.
I could have played Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Remember that time, what was the one that we played where it was always like co-op?
That was
like
like
2 characters. Which Resident Evil one was that?
FIFA.
Playing the pro buttons, but
It was table tennis.
I can't remember, mate. It was,
Nah,
it
but
was
that
one
one
of the
was,
later
that one was
ones.
alright. So it was like, but it was always like one character you were familiar with and then some random.
Aye, and you always had to protect somebody at one point.
Yeah.
Love that. Right.
Right.
I really enjoyed that, guys.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Before we go into a cheeky wee wrap up, I wanted to play a game with you this week.
Alright.
So this week we're playing.
Is this for the OnlyFans?
The bath has been ran. This week, so normally we'll play a wee game at the end, but what we're going to do this week is we're going to take part in the Sprite Challenge.
Oh, okay.
Now, I've already smelt your riff tonight. You've been eating someone fried
Chicken.
asshole with the smell of it. So the aim of the game is you need to down this and then just see what happens at the end of it. Some people have their souls escaping from their body after this.
See, the problem with this is I can't down drinks at all, so I'm going to be fucking useless at this. Also,
I always thought you'd quite a good gag
when
reflex.
when you originally pitched this, like ages ago in the chat, I did that thing that I always do now. If there's something I can't do it, I just like googled to see if there's a tutorial on how
Try
to
to
do it. I was like, how do you?
Just how do you drink stuff?
No,
How do you swallow liquids?
it was how do you?
That one he knows.
I googled how do you down a drink, and I found a tutorial on Reddit, and I got to about step 4 before I realised I was actually being tricked into learning how to deep throat.
See, there's a podcast on everything, man. Right, let's do it, man.
Oh fuck.
Jen? Oh my god, it hurts.
Can't do this. I cannot do this at all.
Wow.
That's the laptop and the mic's done.
I'm going to be here all day.
Oh man, it's going down my chin and everything.
Stefan, do you want a straw?
I can't stop laughing to keep doing. Oh, we should have done straws.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I can't stop laughing to drink it.
I can't get through this.
What if Daniel Bedingfield would have said that? It's not happening. Next week is the Rennie's challenge.
The Meprazole challenge.
I can actually smell you from here.
straight down my t-shirt.
Oh man, that's bad. That was bad for me.
Fuck, that's so sore.
It's painful.
Oh, on that bombshell.
Get it out. And you can't hot.
I think it's very possible I'm going to fucking spew.
Full fight the full fat one. No, I can't speak. Oh no.
Oh fuck.
Thanks for watching.
Right, well, thank you very much for joining us. This will go out soon. We're talking about Halloween.
Yeah, we'll do the wee launch,
We're gonna do
the
a
first
double
one, and then we'll do a wee Halloween one, which is going to be the next one that we discuss. The Halloween one,
I've got an idea for Halloween.
Oh, so do I. So we'll have a wee chat about it then.
We'll take that offline.
Aye.
But thank you so much for. And please follow us on social media.
Yeah.
On Facebook, X, Instagram.
At Mates Movies Malts.
Yep. And if any ideas, any suggestions, drop us an email at matesmoviesmalts@gmail.com.
Jordan, Stefan, thank you.
Peter,
Enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.